Okay, let's do pest control methods, which is 5.6, and integrated pest management, which is 5.11. So we're going to learn about the pests and what to do once we get those pests. Okay, so why do we need pest control? Well, pest control is just a strategy to control things like weeds. So weeds could be a pest, anything that's annoying or getting in the way from our thing that we want to grow, our crop. So that could be weeds, it could be insects that are eating the crop, it could be different fungi that are damaging the crop, viruses and bacteria, so plants can get diseases too, and that can be a pest. It's ruining our crops. We need to control the loss of our crops. If we don't, there's economic implications. It can affect everything in the human population from Unit 3, the world hunger situation. And we want to use pest controls because they help to increase our crop yield and it helps to decrease the crop damage because we all know it's all about the money at the bottom, but it should be a little bit about the environment too. So we're going to try to find this balance. Okay, so there's these different kinds of sides. So the suffix side literally means to kill, and it is your job to know this vocabulary. So all of these are types of pesticides. So remember, a pest can be a weed, an animal, a plant, a fungus, whatever. So all of these different kinds of pesticides are focused to kill a specific thing. So herbicides, herbs is something that's a weed, an unwanted plant that's getting in the way of the crop that we want to grow. A rodenticide, that could be these guys, anything like mammally, little furry guys that run around, gophers, rats, that kind of a thing, marmots. Fungicides are mushrooms or different funguses. This is actually a picture of a fungus growing on a leaf, and that can obviously alter a lot of things with the plant, photosynthesis and probably crop yield. So we don't want that on our crops that we're trying to eat. And insecticides, obviously a lot of bugs are attracted to the different things we're growing, and there's different kinds, so different types of insecticides focused to get ahead and kill those. So we'll know the sides, what they mean. Okay, so when we use a lot of these pesticides, resistance is going to build up. And so resistance is a type of artificial selection, unintended, that occurs, and we don't want that to build up because what will happen is then we have to use more pesticides or different kinds of pesticides. But the general idea is just like your typical biology lesson. You give this pesticide, this one's an insecticide to kill these bugs, and there's always a little bit of resistance. So some of these pests are going to be resistant to this pesticide that's killing them. Well, they're going to survive and reproduce more offspring that are also resistant to that pesticide, and then over time you're going to have mostly the pests left over that are resistant to that pesticide left in the population, and now we're going to have this pesticide that doesn't work. So you either have to up the dose or change what kind of pesticide you're using, putting more chemicals, more pollutable things into the environment and increasing chance of harm to life or water or soil or all of the above. So what happens is there's this GMO. We think of GMOs to change our food. We think of GMOs to breed things in a certain way. Well, we also modify our plants to be resistant to these insects. So instead of using a spray or a chemical, we alter their DNA and we make the plant either more hardy towards or less desirable for an insect to come and eat it. So a susceptible plant, the bugs will be attracted to it and eat it, whereas a GMO, a genetically modified plant, either the plants make a chemical to make it not taste good to these insects, it's not attracted to, or it's just hard for them to eat it and digest it. So that's good for the crop, but it could lead to the loss of biodiversity in a crop or that plant. So if you want a few examples, look at the potatoes, at the potato famine. Potato, I can spell. I'm on vacation, but it's okay. The potato famine is a good example. Our corn supply and our wheat supply, we have kind of whittled it down to just a few genetic variations, and that's starting to haunt us, come back and get us, and have effects. So that is definitely a con and something you could talk about in a FRQ, why GMOs might be a concern. So remember, this little topic for this CED is right here. I put it in here. When we alter natural resources, we also alter natural systems. So that's something to always keep in mind. I always like the quote from Jurassic Park, just because you can do something does not mean you should do something. Okay, so if we don't want to use these harsh pesticides, what can we do? Well, we can minimize our disruption to the environment by trying some different stuff. So this different stuff is called integrated pest management, which is what IPM is. And that is trying to handle these pests that are invading our crops by minimizing the damage that we're doing to the environment. So some of the things we are going to talk about are biocontrol, just like what it sounds like, intercropping, which will come up again in another place, and crop rotation, and then our predator-prey relationship that we have talked about. All right, so this integrated pest management, there are kind of 4 levels to it. So they have this pyramid going on. What we think of as pesticide management is blast them with chemicals, but that's really the last option when we try to do it in a sustainable way. So level 1 is this cultural thought. And on the bottom of our pyramid, first we want to try to just prevent the pests. Can we keep stuff out of the way? Can we change the habitat to kind of steer the pests away from the crops? Can we practice good sanitation to not attract the pests and the vermin and all the other things that might come to our cropland? And then the next level is this physical or mechanical, same thing, prevention. So can we build a fence around it to prevent stuff from coming in? Can we put screens? Can we make sure we're wearing proper clothing so we're not cross-contaminating fields as we go across in different places? Then the third one is biological. Can we use like predator-prey relationships that exist in nature? Can we plant certain plants that repel insects and maybe complement what's going on in our crops? Can we look at parasites and see if there's something that would work there to deter the pests from coming in to our fields? And then as a last resort, blast them with the chemicals, with the spray. So the thought process here is, let's be preventative, and if it keeps escalating, then we need to intervene and do something drastic. Obviously, we want to choose the less toxic options first until we go full scale to this chemical spray method. And that's in our houses too. So if you have a little garden in your backyard or you have little buggies in your house, do you have to go straight to the spray? Can you do something else? So an example is our eco bottles in the classroom. We got a few ants, and I put down black pepper flakes and garlic powder, and that deterred a lot of them. We still had some ants, but we deterred a lot of ants. So just some things to think about, and that can be true with other things. If you do your research, do your homework, you can find some natural ways. Sometimes some apple cider vinegar. It's a strong scent and bugs don't like it, and you can spray that around and it doesn't hurt us at all, and it's a good salad dressing ingredient actually, but it will deter the bugs. They don't like it. Okay, so the pros and the cons, stuff for your FRQ knowledge. So the benefits of integrated pest management. It's definitely going to reduce the risk to the wildlife. It's going to reduce the risk to the waters, the water system, the whole water cycle, because pollutants aren't going to be getting into it that have like chemical spray stuff. reduce the risk to human health. These chemicals are carcinogens, and that means they can cause cancer. So why do we want to spray a bunch of cancer-causing stuff onto our food? We don't. Now remember, these are sprays that are intended to kill stuff that's alive. So guess what? We're alive, so the sprays over time can accumulate. It's called bioaccumulation in our bodies, and we can get toxic levels over time. That's why you should always wash your fruits and vegetables with soap, not just water, to get those off. Okay, so it will also, in general, these three just kind of add up to this one. It minimizes the threats to the environment. On the downside, this is really expensive, this IPM. It takes a lot of time. I probably should add that. It takes a lot of time and it's complicated. It is not something you can just figure out really fast and understand. And so you've got to hire a guy, they've got to study it. You don't see results right away. People are impatient. It's all about earning their money, and that makes it difficult. Okay, so now you know about pesticides, you know about integrated pest management, and hopefully that gives you a little bit more of an overview for this portion.